Okay, so we're going to spend some time with Integrity Capital today going through the mining section and all the data points that you're going to need to focus on when talking to a client for the first time. So in the Salesforce database, you're going to click on this new folder, a new file, which is a new inquiry. And the very first thing you're going to do is name the deal. So, doctor purchase, organ, or something along those lines, you fill that out. The stage is new inquiry. That's the first process in there. You're going to ask them what loan amount they're looking for. So we'll just say $1 million or 10 million. And then you're going to always have to put an estimated close date. So we always want to go about 60 days out from the original date. You're going to have to put the client's name and the company name as well in there. So you have to do a search. If you don't have it, you'll create it as well. You're going to pick the business asset type. So we'll just say this is a retail center. So it's important you pick that. You'll do owner occupied purchase. You'll choose that. These are all the different loan types. So owner occupied, OO stands for owner occupied. The INV is investor. So this is the loan type that you're going to choose as well. And you always want to put who's referred by, who sent you the transaction. So you can go back and say, oh, who sent me this, and thank them for it. You'll want to put what we would refer to as the type. So are they an H3, a D1, D2? So you get it from Google, ambassador lead, email marketing, or something other. So you just want to pick what that is in particular. And then here, you're clicking this box if you want the client to receive an automated checklist from us as to the type of transaction. So we have it built in to where if it's owner occupied purchase, they'll get a very particular generic checklist from you in that particular vein. So they'll know what items to send you, but you won't see it. So a lot of times we just recommend you don't click that, but it's there if you know. Fee amount for us, the minimum has to be $7,500 or 1%. That's typically the minimum for us is $7,500. So you can put the fee amount, $10,000 here. This section is just, once we get to where we'd actually receive some quotes from the lender, you'll put that in that section. The property address, you'll want to make sure you get that from the client and put the whole amount, Portland, Oregon, and then the zip. And all of these right here are dates that will be captured based upon where you're at in the process. So, date the info requested, the analysis successful, et cetera, et cetera. And so it's really, really important that you keep pushing it through the process on the timeline that things happen so that we can capture dates, times, and make sure we're learning about some trends that we're starting to see. Pass, fail, you're going to look to see, once you ask questions about the cash flow, does the project meet the cash flow requirement? What this means is does the cash flow from the project have the ability to service the debt that is in place for the property? Does it also have a global component as well outside of it? So it'll be important that you really understand that. You'll get some training on that, but there's, an owner occupied that's for the business. In projection-based deals, you want to make sure that the cash flow works in the future. And if it's a private money deal, then you just need the ability to know that we can take the loan out. So that's the case there. So you just choose which one it is. You usually in this section are going to put, how much their cash flow is. Pass, fail. So if it's passed the test, they're able to service the debt 1.25 times or greater. It's a pass. If it's not, you're potentially a fail, and we want to address that at that moment. The collateral, this just gives you all these different options to see if it's in line with expectations. So, if it's non-recourse, you need to be 65 to 70%. If it's, triple net properties, you need to be at 55 to 65% loan to value, and so on and so forth. So you're just going to walk down that list and choose the ones that most fit that particular project. So in this particular case, owner occupied must be 90% loan to value or better. You want to make sure you've talked about fee with the client. Have you had a discussion with them about how much we charge, about how much the fee is? So make sure that you discuss that and that it meets our minimum. We also want to talk about timelines and expectations. So have you discussed timelines with the client to make sure it's realistic on the closing? This is really important because they might have some timelines that are unrealistic. So your job is to make sure that you align those expectations up and that we've had that discussion, because that can cause some issues. You also want to make sure that you've talked with the broker. If there's a broker involved that's representing the client, you want to make sure you've had that discussion with them and that it's clear that we're all on the same page. And then you also confirm with the lender that those timelines are applicable as well and meet their particular criteria. You want to log here what kind of recourse. Is it a recourse loan where they're going to sign personally? Is it a non-recourse loan, or is it partial recourse? So we make sure we log that most of them are recourse. After you have looked at the cash flow of the asset itself, we also want to know, how does the cash flow look globally? And again, that's something you have already learned or will. So you're going to have to be able to run their global cash flow to make sure that they can service the debt outside of that, in the case where that necessarily matters. Loyalty is a big deal. So we want to make sure that the client is loyal in the sense that we're clear that either A, they're not working with anybody else except for us exclusively. Secondly, they might be working with somebody else, but we're aware of it. We know where we stand in the process of agreement with them. Or they're working with another broker and they've agreed to share the lists of lenders with us. Or there are just no options for loyalty at all, or somewhere in between. So make sure that you mark that, and then you can log any particular notes in here as well, like, client is working exclusively with us. Urgency is a big deal, so we want to make sure that we understand the nature of the urgency. So are they under contract? And, is it out for signature? Is it a 1031 exchange? Is it a refinance and there's a balloon in 6 months or less? So all these give you the different potential scenarios, and it gives you some things to gauge to see if this is somebody that's really urgent right now. Is this somebody that really is looking to get something done, or is it just a kind of it's a must to, or or kind of a nice to? So we want to make sure that that's clear up front. When you're having a discussion with them about their credit, you have to make sure that that this is something that you've addressed all these different areas. So how's your credit? There are any lates on mortgages, bankruptcies, foreclosures, short sales, lawsuits, or something else. So you want to ask those questions. They're a little uncomfortable, but I think it'll fare well as we continue to go forward. Credibility. And make sure on the credit that you're asking every single one of those things as well. Credibility, this is just, what are their credentials? Have they worked in the business for a long time? If they worked in something that this is a like kind business? Are they partnering or hiring somebody who's more than 1 year of industry experience? Or do they just not have credentials? So make sure you log that. And are there any hurdles? Are there any other issues that you could potentially see that could come up that we should be aware of and make notes in this particular section? Client net worth. We want to know if they have a very low net worth, medium, or high. So this gives you a gauge. If it's low is 0.5 times of the loan amount in less than 6 months of payments. The medium is 1 times the loan amount and 6 months of payments. The high is 1.1 or higher and 6 months of payment. So you want to mark what those are, just to give you sort of a criteria. And then finally in this section is, is this a property that's in a major metropolitan area? Is it in a submarket to the MSA, or is it in a tertiary market as well? So that's just at least the first section of the application as you go through trying to identify a few things, and then we'll continue on from there.